All right, everybody, welcome back to Who's Your Band? I am Jeffrey Paul. I am joined this week, as always, by my co-host, Mr. Sean Morton. How are you, Sean?
I'm wonderful, Jeffrey. How are you? This is going to be a little weird. We've never had this many people on at one time.
Well, that's not true. We had
we did it.
Yeah,
we did it once. But they were all in the same room. Like these guys could all be like sitting in their like living rooms with like no pants on. We have no idea.
Right. We did something like this with Sons of Silver.
Yeah, we did.
Right. So and that worked out great. But let's bring in our special guests for the week. This is a local New Jersey band, but I checked them out and I thought they were really good. Let's welcome in Dennis, Marco, Frank, and Brian from Morningside Lane. How are you guys?
Good, man. How you doing?
Going on, man?
All right, so let's go around and let's introduce everybody separately. Tell us what what instrument you play in the band, and then we'll talk to you guys collectively. So let's start with Dennis.
All right. I play keyboards and synthesizers. I've been with the band for not too long, about a year and a half, but it's been awesome ever since.
Okay, cool. And then we got Frankie.
Yeah, what's up, guys? My name is Frankie. I play bass. I've been with Morningside Lane since the early part of 2019.
Okay, and then we got Marco.
Yeah, my name is Mark. I'm lead singer and guitar player for Morningside Lane, and yeah, I've been in this band since I was born.
Okay, and Marco, as you can tell, is not a comedian, but he is a pretty good guitar player and a great singer. And how about Brian?
Yeah, hey guys, I'm Brian. I play drums, I sing backing, and I've been playing and working with Mark since late 2017.
Okay. So when did this band start, and who started the band?
Well, I mean, in 2009, I just got out of high school, and then I figured, let's get a band together. And then it kind of just like, it was like a slow process. And then, multiple lineup changes over the years. And then it just got really serious when these guys joined, like 2019. And then we put out our first full-length album, and then we just took it from there.
How long has this incarnation of the band been together?
It's been a solid 2 years. And then Dennis came in, and it's actually been exactly a year, Dennis, since like you made your debut.
Yeah, it's an interesting sound, man. I really encourage everybody to check these guys out. I don't know what other people have told you, but from listening to it a couple of times, I pick up like, Mark, as from your voice, you have a very John Bon Jovi quality to it. Has anyone ever told you that?
I've been told that before. Yes.
Okay, good. So it's not my right. And I'm picking Bon Jovi up from 78-degree Fahrenheit era. Like you guys have a really 80s influence sound, which is really cool because you guys are young guys. And when people talk about, hey, rock and roll is dead and there's no future generation, I kind of disagree. We had a band called Tempt On, and they're a bunch of young guys, and they're really good. And, they're influenced by Def Leppard, and they play their instruments. And you guys, you have, I don't know, man, I love the keyboard quality in it. It gives it kind of like Bon Jovi meets the Psychedelic Furs sound to me. Is that influences for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, you could put it that way. I mean, the 80s especially is like a big influence. Like since we got Dennis, like the inclusion of a synthesizer, we're really, really pushing the influences in that direction.
Well, what did you guys listen to growing up? And how old are you guys about?
Well, I just turned 30.
Oh, go fuck yourself. Really? 30.
You know what? I don't agree with Sean on most things, but I'm going to agree with him on this one. Yeah, we've had enough of young, good-looking, mounted guys coming on the show and being better than us. Okay, all you guys. I mean,
I gotta tell you, Jeff, I did not hear like the Bon Jovi thing in the least bit.
No, you have a tin ear. That's why.
No, I didn't. I heard something completely different, and they might be pissed off at me when I say this, but like I heard more of like the Head and the Heart, and like Mumford Sons kind of, but like good Mumford Sons, because Mumford Sons kind of sucks a dick. Like a better version of Mumford and Sons.
I did not hear that shit at all.
Like, you know how I heard the song, and I always like describe it this way. And I kind of heard the music and I liked it. And then I kind of pictured like the very end of watching a commercial for like a television show on the CW. And like they play the music in the background as they kind of fade to like when the show's going to be on.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's how I saw it. That's how I saw it.
On the video that was sent to us, I liked the song a lot. I thought that this video was more of a distraction than the song. I thought the song was really good. I mean, to me, the song had like, radio written all over it. It was poppy. It had hooks. I think Marc's voice is great for what what they're going for. I heard a lot of Bon Jovi. I heard a lot of 80s.
Well, I'm sure Marco is glad that I'm sure he's glad that you compared him to like a 64-year-old man who can't hit a high note anymore. You know what I mean? So
no. I said 78 degree.
Oh, okay. So old Bon Jovi.
Yeah, good Bon Jovi. We're not talking about his country music shit.
Yeah, I like that shit. I like that.
Well, again, 10 years Sean. I like Dennis's throwing in a little bit keyboard there. It had a little Duran Duran influence in there. The James Bond song. What was that? View to a Kill. I could see these guys, not in that song, but I could see them like playing that type of music, like pop music with a little bit of a harder edge, and with catchy hooks and good choruses. I mean, is that type of music dead, or am I describing something that doesn't exist anymore?
I think you got very good drugs in Newburgh, New York last night, is what I think.
We all share 80s music as like primary influences, or at least important influences for all of us. Like we all share that, and then we deviate in so many different directions from there. And we, the way that I see it is, and have experienced it, is we're really just writing pop songs with a sound that's like authentic to us, where, we wear a million influences on our sleeves. So you hear a million different things, and, all things that we're proud of. But we think that like the 80s sound can have a bit of a revitalized energy now in 2021. And we're happy with that.
Yeah, but the thing about it though, Brian, is that, you think of it as like a resurgence, but like me and Jeff are still stuck there. And that's the problem. Like when we were listening to this stuff, you were not born.
Yeah.
That's the issue. That's like the middle of the road old guy problems that we're having. It's like we still want to listen to this great shit, but then it's like when we go to the show, oh shit, we're the old men at this show. Like we should not belong at this concert.
Like when Sean and I are like living our everyday life, we're still wearing Dokken t-shirts. Okay. By the way, that's not you can't name a band Dokken anymore in 2021.
I will straight up show you my Dokken shirt. If you give me like 30 seconds.
but think about it. In this new world and what the new meaning of Dokken is, I don't think you can name your band that anymore.
No, that makes sense.
Otherwise, you're going to be playing. Otherwise, you're going to be playing a lot of Pride festivals. Okay.
But there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that, but it's taking them a second to figure that out. Okay.
You guys are all from Jersey? You guys are all from New Jersey?
Yeah, we're all from New Jersey. I'm from North Jersey, though. Everyone else is kind of like South Central.
I was a North Jersey guy for 44 years, and I just became a Central Jersey guy.
Where'd you live?
I lived in Hudson County my entire life. So I was in Union City and then Bayonne, and now I moved 3 minutes away from Starland Ballroom.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've been there for 10 months and I have not been to a goddamn show yet. So go figure. I would drive an hour every goddamn time to go to this fucking place. And now it's in my backyard and I haven't been there yet. But whatever. I'm a little salty today, Jeff. I'm a little salty.
Yeah, but we're going February 2nd.
I'll be there before that.
The wait's over.
Okay.
The wait is over. Right. Yes.
So let's talk about what music influenced you, and let's kind of go around. Start with Dennis. Dennis, growing up, where'd you grow up, and who did you listen to, like in high school, and what kind of made you gravitate towards keyboards?
That's a good question. So, well, let's start with the music in high school. I would say I was a big Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was into Nirvana.
Bands that have no keyboards.
Bands that had no keyboards.
Okay.
I always liked Pearl Jam. But then later on, I sort of gravitated into a little bit more jazz and blues music. And that's when I really fell in love with keyboards and all that. And I think I also used to love what's her name? Huey Lewis and the News. That's
wow. That's it.
They have a lot of keyboards.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And they have the hair.
And very blues kind of oriented.
Yeah, true. You can still it almost makes you feel like you can still feel the origin when you listen to them. Like you can feel the origin of that music being in blues or somewhere there. And then I grew up playing, well, my first instrument was drums, and I continued to play that. But after that, my parents got me into playing the piano because it just makes you a little bit more versatile with everything in music, because you understand music from a different perspective than just being a drummer. I can say that because Brian plays a lot more than just drums. But yeah, and from there it sort of gravitated towards, I'd say, a more modern sound, and then that more modern sound became 80s somehow, I guess, because it is coming back.
Do all of you share a hand in the songwriting?
No. So
Marco was like, fuck this. This is my shit. I write the shit and you play. I saw the face, Mark. I saw it. You know why I saw that? Because I did the same thing. When people would ask, oh, who writes the songs? I'd be like, everybody stop talking. This is my department now. This is my department.
Let me tell you how it goes. So it's like I sit here in this exact spot.
Mm-hmm.
And, I come up with the lyrics. I come up with some sort of like body, like kind of like an empty canvas, but with with some structure. Then I bring it to these guys, and then we color it in. Everybody writes their parts. Everybody has their, like, I can't write a bass line. Frankie writes these bass lines that I could never come up with, so, right. And, Brian could come up with another beat that can transform the song. It all transforms when we get together, but it's like the conception is there in this shitty desk that's about to break. Yeah.
It's a weird thing too, because like you go through those periods where like you may have that idea and like you'll bring it to the guys, and then it's like sometimes you'll hit, and like in a day and a half you have a completely written, structured song, and then like you'll have an idea, and then it'd be like 9 months later and it's still not working and you have no idea why. That's like the beautiful thing I love about songwriting, is because you really never have any idea where it's going to take you, how long it's going to take, and how good the song's going to wind up being anyway. The best songs that I ever wrote with my guitar player at the time, we would be drinking in Hoboken at like 1 o'clock in the morning. And we'd be like, all right, look, these bitches are like, they're not listening to like the way we're hitting on them. Let's just get the fuck out of here and go to our studio. And then we would drive to our studio, and I would throw out here, but here's what I wrote. He'd look at it and go, okay, this is how it's going to sound. Boom. And then half an hour later, the song's completely done.
Yeah. You have moments, every song, it comes together. Well, every song kind of writes itself. After you got to write it, and then it just like it writes itself in as you put your energy into it. I feel like you should, if you have an idea, stick to it. But if it's starting to talk to you, where it's like, all right, like when you don't have it, you always know when it's like, ah.
What comes first for you guys, music or lyrics?
Usually lately it's different every time. It's like sometimes a simple, like this last song that I wrote, it was like I figured out a new chord. Like all of a sudden I hit this chord and I'm like, okay, this sounds different, and then it just happened. Like just that different tone in that chord just kind of wrote itself, and then the whole song just came together. You never know how it's going to happen. I would love to say that a chorus, I like to write the chorus first. It takes a huge load off my shoulders as like then the verse, because the verse, it's like, I think it's harder to write a really, really good chorus than a verse, because if you got that chorus first, it's like, all right, I know I know where to take it. I know what I want to say because I said it already in the chorus.
Yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying. It's kind of like that's the buildup. Like that's where everybody's getting drawn into the song. Like nobody gives a shit about, you know, the fucking instrumentals in the very beginning and stuff. The chorus is where people get locked into the song.
Yeah,
that's the hook.
Like
that's what brings people.
Yeah, and it's like the chorus.
Okay.
Are you back? But I'm talking too much, aren't I?
No. Jeff's
no.
Jeff's computer is cutting off on top of him talking over you, so it's a double whammy.
Okay.
I think I'm on a delay.
Yeah, in life in general, yes. Continue.
I love this dynamic. Yeah, so it's like, damn. No, go ahead, Jeff. I don't know. I forgot what I was gonna.
No, I was gonna go. You know, because Frankie's been kind of quiet but enjoying the show. So let's bring Frankie. And I want to know, you know, bass player. What made you play bass? Who'd you listen to growing up? And what you could, you know, besides a great bass line to the band, what are you contributing to the band?
I'll tell you why Frankie is quiet. I'll tell you exactly why Frankie is quiet. Number one, because he's the bass player. Number one. Number two, he's got a girl right underneath the desk right there who's servicing him right now. So he's not saying a thing because the bass players are always the one who get laid more than anybody in the goddamn band. And it pissed me off every goddamn time. Now continue, Frankie.
Oh, man. Oh, I love this.
I nailed it, didn't I? I nailed it.
So I mean, growing up, I was like introduced really early to like classic rock, you know, Led Zeppelin, you know, Guns N' Roses. Styx was a big one up until my all-time favorite band, Foreigner, that I got introduced to growing up. And like, yeah, weird, I know, but there's
no, Frankie, it's not weird. Don't listen. He's an idiot. Okay, those are two great bands, Styx and Foreigner, both bands that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But go on.
Well, Frankie now is officially a bass player who's 26, who apparently is a 95-year-old man inside of himself. But go ahead, continue.
No, I did an old soul. Really, like, yeah, I mean, that's what I was, you know, brought up with. And then as, you know, I got into, you know, throughout the late, I guess like 7th or 8th grade, when I started to play bass, my band teacher basically was like, have you ever played bass before? Because I was playing like saxophone and all this other stuff. And he introduced me to bass. And then all of a sudden I started getting into like punk rock. And then Green Day came out of nowhere for me. And I just fell in love with Green Day. And then that just kind of took a whole nother turn. So it like went from classic rock to punk to, you know, and then it just kind of opened the door to everything. And then it became a really big like pop person. I love pop music. I love all that. And just bands that kind of marry those two is my, you know, biggest influences.
I gotta tell you, I think Green Day is a very underrated band, even though they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know, I think they're a very underrated band because they did spawn like a huge punk revival in the 90s. And then their subtle turn into more of the pop punk brought a whole new dynamic in. And then they just became a rock band at some point. Like they just totally stopped being punk. And now they're just a regular rock band. And
they evolved. Yeah,
I think it's a great evolution. I really do. And it's one of those bands that, like, you know, again, they have the mainstream success, but like they don't get the credit, I think. If that makes sense.
I feel like Green Day, like Green Day fans.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Oh, no. What I was going to say is, I think I'm on a little bit of delay. I think Green Day has evolved. When you look at like what Dookie was to all the way to American Idiot. I mean, a band that kind of stays the same, you know, other bands pass them by. I think the whole part of music, I think the whole part of life is to evolve. You don't want to have the same. You don't want to keep making the same album over and over again. You're gonna lose an audience. You got to grow. Your audience is going to grow with you, and you're going to find a bigger audience as you grow as musicians and people. And I think Green Day's done that. They can't. Otherwise you become rancid. You know, rancid never changed.
Yeah, and it's kind of like how we've evolved into this like 80s synth, you know, pop thing, because that album we put out in 2020, you know, that was very, you know, very rock. It didn't have, you know, we had synths on it, but we made sure to not put enough synths to where like we need to replicate anything live, since we didn't have a keyboard in there, really just for support. And then when we got Dennis, that was when, you know, the surge of just inspiration and, you know, especially with Marc just writing a lot of these like more modern tunes and things that people are hearing now really helped. And I think it's important for artists and bands and really everyone to just evolve and adapt. I think that's how you get further in life without feeling like you're just going in circles at one point.
Very true. Marco, how about you? Well, Mark, I don't know what Marco. I don't know what I'm calling him.
You could call me Mark. It doesn't matter. My grandfather calls me Marco.
Okay. So, again, growing up, and what got you into guitar?
Well, okay. What got me into guitar was I don't know. I just wanted to play because I liked music in general, but I was kind of like, I wasn't like a big fan of anyone up until I was 8. And then I found Bruce.
Really?
It's my be all end all. And then
and you're 30 years old.
Yeah.
What'd
you think of the last album? What'd you think of his last album?
Which one? Letter to You?
Yeah.
I just can't believe how ambitious it is for a guy who has nothing to prove anymore.
Great point. And the thing I loved about it too is that he had 3 songs on that record that are 40 something years old that he redid.
Yeah, man, I know. And I think that was like, at first when I heard that, I was like, what the fuck? And then when I heard him though, I'm like, I kind of get it now. I get what he's doing, because it was more of like, that album was more about like his past. Like when he was like a teenager. He really goes back to like he's really reflecting on his first like experience as a musician, as a 16-year-old, and the people he knew, and just to redo those songs that he had when he was like 20, 21. It's like it works together, and I was like, all right, that I fuck with that. That's dope.
Now that song Ghosts is really great because he writes it about the 2 guys that in his band that he lost. Now you have 3 guys in your band. If you could only cry for 2, which 2 would you pick?
If I could only cry for 2, I'd probably oh, come on. Come on.
You got it. Come on, Mark. You got to answer the question. Everybody else has.
As Frankie is putting his ad in the aquarium right now for a bass player looking for a new band.
Yeah, I'd cry for.
You don't have to answer the question. I'm totally fucking with you.
Man, I don't want to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, we've never asked that question before.
You idiot. Don't answer that.
Go on, you're a jerk. You just stuck with the bit. We would have gotten to answer. And Brian would have been hanging himself later.
I can actually smell. I can actually smell his underwear right now because he was shitting his pants trying to answer this question.
I thought you were serious. I don't know. So yeah, Bruce, and then what else? I tend to
lose someone.
Yeah, we left.
We lost Jeff.
No, we lost Jeff.
Oh, what a horror! Oh my God, I'm so heartbroken.
Is anyone going to cry over that?
No, I never cry when Jeff leaves the podcast.
He'll be back, right?
Yeah, and I'll totally fuck with him and say that I missed him horribly. Oh, Jeff, thank God. I don't know what I was going to do without you. Thank God you made it back, Jeff.
What did I miss? I'm sorry.
Nothing. We were like, oh my God, how is this show going to continue for the rest of this podcast now that Jeff had to bounce off? It was horrible. The guys were like, look, can we reschedule? I don't know. It's this guy's leading the ship. We don't know what we're going to do. It was a bad situation for a few seconds, Jeff. I'm not going to lie to you.
This is a recorded show. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see. I'm going to find out what each of you got. Okay. I don't trust anyone on this show right now. Let's get to, but we haven't spoken to Brian at all. Brian sitting there, seems like a nice guy, has a great smile, and cool beard. Brian.
You fucking hitting on him? What the fuck you doing?
I like Brian. Brian, he had that cool Charlie Watts style when he's sitting back there playing the drums. He's not too flashy, but he's solid. He's keeping the beat, keeping the time in this band. So who are your influences? And, we alluded earlier that you play several different instruments. Why the drums in this band?
Sure. The drums are my first instrument. I mean, when I was really young, I loved the sound of a drum kit. And I loved how, through production and all different styles of music, the drums can take on such a different sound, such an identity, and be musical, be almost lyrical, and not just, someone hitting on stuff. So drums are my first instrument. And in this band, I wanted to bring power to Marc's songs, I mean, I was working with him in 2017 on some songs. Actually, it was a recorded project. So we kind of met, air quotes, in studio or started working together then. So I wanted to be like a hitter, but I wanted to be a finesse drummer also. So Jeff Porcaro is probably my biggest influence in drumming. There have been many notable ones throughout the years, but I bring a lot of Jeff Porcaro into Morningside Lane, along with just some power hitters like Kenny Aronoff, or some of the Nashville guys too. Like, and to play a lot of instruments, I mean, I decided I wanted to, at a young age, be a musician. And so early on, I mean, I was drawn to bass and keyboards and synth and organ and piano also at an early age. So I wanted to learn those instruments too. And really, for the sheer possibility that I would one day, when I was old enough, want to be hired by many different acts. And I have been. So like 16, 17, I was already playing in Jersey Shore bars and stuff. And it was cool. I'm road tested. So literally almost every style of music I've performed on an instrument. I did a lot of cover gigs, still do even. And original music brought me to Marc and Morningside Lane. So
doesn't it bother you as like guys who write their own music that it's so hard to make a living doing original music when you can just go and say, fuck it, I'm going to do a cover band and make like $2-3 grand a night?
Yeah, I mean, that's precisely why I'm not a singer or a songwriter. I just only want to be a musician. So I was like, okay, well, people want to hire musicians. I want to be the best at my instruments and stuff. So I like to bring an arranging ear along with, I know Frank and Dennis do this too. Like we all bring our arrangement chops to Marc's ideas and kind of see how we can bring them to life.
So what's new with you guys now in 2021, going into 2022? Are there plans to hit the road? Are you guys touring? Are you gigging? And what are some of the obstacles that you're finding, in this present climate?
Well, Frank, you take this one because
the most equipped for this one.
Yeah, because with like logistics and like I'm not good with it, man. Like I'm good talking to people.
You want me to go for it?
Yeah, Frank, go ahead.
There's always the one guy in the band who like has the lead. He's the one who deals with the shit club owners who want you to sell 800 fucking tickets on a Tuesday night to play the back room of a fucking bar in Clifton and say, because it's great exposure for you. Trust me, Frank, I've been there.
Are you talking about dingbats?
Well, good friend of mine owns that, but it's okay. We're not going to talk about that. But anyway, go ahead. Continue.
Sorry. No. You said Clifton. So
yeah, I know. Well, I used to play in these friggin' bars, like in Connections, which was down the street from Dingbats. It's before your time, but like you had to go on the street and sell fucking tickets. It was horrible. I did it in Brooklyn when there was a club called L'Amour in Brooklyn. It was the biggest rock club in the East Coast, probably, in the 80s and 90s. And I was literally 10 minutes before I'm going on stage selling my last 2 tickets 4 blocks away. And then literally
there was no through traffic in L'Amour. It was like an industrial section.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard shit. So I understand, dude. I understand that horrible shit. I always say, like, I was in a band for 10 years maybe, and I made more money in my first year in comedy than I did in 10 years in a band. It's a very strange dynamic. But what are the things you go through, Frank? I know you do all the booking, or
whoa, can you guys hear me? There we go.
Yeah,
no, not at all. Like we all really, ever since like the lockdown happened in March of 2020, we all kind of put our heads together and figured out like where, what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses off the stage. You know what I mean? In the business realm. So we all have different aspects of what we do. Like Brian, he does a lot of the booking and getting in touch with, the venues. He has that experience. Me and Dennis are kind of like the behind the scenes. Like Dennis will do like website, and I have like Spotify. Like we basically all just kind of really just find each other's strengths and have like real conversations of where each skill set lies. And then Marc, we just say, just keep writing the songs. We'll do the other part.
Yeah. No, it's important, man. It's because if it falls on one person, then there starts getting the resentment. You start getting the, hey, what are you guys doing? Because like I used to bust my bass player's balls all the time because he would learn the song. And I was like, all right, we ready to go? We're doing this one. And he'd look at me and I'm like, how much weed did you smoke today? And he'd be like, a lot. I'm like, all right, it starts like this. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, okay, cool. And then he would go right into it. Like he had complete fucking ADHD before it was ever a thing.
Yeah, it's crazy because that's the thing. I mean, when we just a quick when we recorded These Are Our Years, that album in 2020, our original plan was to have it, kind of pitch it to local labels or, bigger labels just to see if there was someone that wanted to go, take it on. But what happened was, once the lockdown hit, we realized that we're just going to do this DIY and see like where it goes. It's our first full length album as, a full band. So let's just hit the ground running and have meetings every week. Let's talk about social media. Let's talk about the industry, what's going on, things, how do we do promotion? How are we going to do post promotion? What are our idols doing that we can maybe replicate to promote our music? You know what I mean? Instead of having to reinvent the wheel all the time, let's just figure out different things that our fans are liking from the people that they listen to. And then let's put our spin on it, basically. And, through that, we were able to make a little bit of a splash in terms of like the Asbury scene and even in our like hometowns to, get this music out. And there's a lot of stuff on the horizon, which we're super excited about.
I think you guys, the musicians now have it easier in some ways and a lot harder in a lot of other ways too. I think it's easier because there's so many more platforms for you guys to get your music out to. Like back, 20 years ago, you had to really get signed basically in order to get heard. Now you guys can be in 5 different places, record a song over the span of, 4 or 5 weeks, put it out on Spotify, iTunes, and it could blow up. But on the flip side, too, you also have it a lot harder because everybody is watching you. You can't disappear because you're always on social media, and there's always going to be one dick who's going to try and call you out for something all the time, too, where we didn't have that 20 years ago. It was very, very different. If somebody called you out on something that was at a show and they didn't like you, you punched them in the teeth and then you moved on, and there was no video record of it either.
Yeah.
So you guys are constantly under the microscope. And like we do the same thing with comedy too. We're under the microscope all the time. If we say one stupid thing on stage and somebody has a video camera out, we're done.
Yeah. I think the other thing about doing it the way you just suggested, Sean, is like, and this is, I think, what labels did. I mean, labels screwed over a lot of. I worked for a label, first job out of college. But I mean, one thing that a label did was it shifted through all this shit. So when they put out something, you didn't have to go through like the internet and the Spotify and everything else and sit there and listen to 100, 200 shitty bands before you found the one, and then you started getting bored of it. The label put out what was good. The other thing is, I think today is you don't really need the label. I mean, the label isn't what it used to be, Back in the day, you got signed and then you went out on the road and you sold the album. It's not that way anymore. Now it's like you're putting out a record and you'll give away the music for free so people get to know you, and then you'll make your money on the road and selling the merch. So from that perspective, have you guys ever taken the grassroots approach to maybe building up a fan base? And how do you do that? Like, I know you can do it locally because you have your family, your friends in the New Jersey area, but how do you start to go out like to the Midwest and out, even further west, like to the LA, Washington State scene?
Do you want me to? Or did you want to go, Brian? It looked like you were about to go.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel like in many ways we've been doing the grassroots approach. Certainly, when COVID hit, we didn't want to just kind of go to bed. We were kind of thinking amongst ourselves, how are we going to literally fight to stay relevant and visible and make a splash while nobody has shows and the entire industry is upside down? And how are we going to be memorable and also promote new music that we're were releasing during all of this. And when we were looking for the information, I think there's a lot of transparency in the industry right now where all the lessons, they're on YouTube. The industry, I don't feel, is this faceless gatekeeper, creature. I think it wants a lot of new talent. I think the industry wants great songs, and a lot of the lessons are out there. It's how much of it you want to siphon through. And Frank has been phenomenal with it, but we covered a lot of our own label-esque bases. I was doing a lot of PR. I'm doing a lot of PR and radio right now, even with us. Dennis revamped our entire website. It helps to know a lot of things. And that's just kind of where that took us. We're hoping that airplay, like terrestrial radio play on like AAA radio, alternative radio, would break us into other markets.
Do you guys have any representation in the college radio market?
So we have representation right now. In terms of radio promote, we have a radio promoter that works for us in terms of like for AAA radio. And right now there's a station in Ohio that's going to be basically, I guess, pushing Good Men, our new single. And then we also have representation on the manager side, but it's fairly new. But for this past year, we've been all DIY. But in terms of, I think to Brian's point, I think the whole thing is consistency. Like you were saying, Jeff, like you don't need a label. You don't, but you need to be consistent, because these labels that have been in the industry for, decades, they've figured out a formula through a certain way, and they know how to do things. They've developed networks. They've developed people that they can just pick up a phone and go, hey, I got these people, or I got this, like, what do you got for me here? And as an independent musician or an independent band, you need to understand and develop those networks. And you can't just hope that I'm going to say, oh, I got a new single out, come check it out. Like, there's more to it than just posting on social media. Like, you got to be consistent with your message. You got to be consistent with your brand. You got to develop people that can help you push and enjoy your music as much as you do, honestly, because you develop what's called, we've developed this spreadsheet called our core fan spreadsheet. And although it's a small number that's on there, right, less than 100, we have more fans outside, but these 100 people are the people that are on our email list. They are always hitting us up for when you play next, and it's to cater to those people that are constantly listening, constantly sharing our posts, constantly reaching out to us. And that's how you build that fan base, by really just how I was saying before, asking your fan base, what kind of things do you enjoy? What kind of music do you like? What kind of, shit like that? Because I feel the more you connect with your fan base, it's not about just, here's some music, boom. It's what do you guys want to hear? And we do that a lot with polls. We do that a lot on social media with, and things like that, because then, I don't know, I think that's really important. Things that record labels have already figured out, that sometimes independent bands, they just kind of jump over to, here's my merch and here's my music, where they're not catering and they're not developing that relationship in order to actually get the financial exchange from your fans.
It's very easy to get the initial reaction. It's whether to get it, keep going and going and going. It's like what we do. Somebody can come see me or Jeff perform, and they'll be like, oh, you were really good. But if you don't do the extra step in talking to the people after the show, even if you're trying to sell merch or you connect on social media and then you constantly post your gigs and stuff like that. I mean, listen, Jeff will tell you the same thing. There's shows where we'll go and we will see the same people over and over and over again who are constantly supportive. And then there's people who don't give a shit. You know what I mean? So you always do got to take care of the people that are always going to be there for you. I did one gig for this one person 10 years ago, and a private gig, and they've come to about 15 shows since then.
And they bring friends.
They bring friends. They bring family. I mean, and these people have come, they've driven hours to come see me.
You build the fan base that way. But I want to piggyback on both something that you said, Frankie, and Sean was saying to a point. And I want to throw this out there. In this day and age now, is it even that important to put out an entire album as opposed to just releasing singles. Because if you think about it, we live in like, I'm going to use an old guy term here, but we live in kind of like an MTV generation where people just don't have the stamina, they don't have the attention span. So who's sitting through a full album as opposed to a single or two, and then you put it out on a constant basis. So now every couple of months, maybe every 2 months, you're releasing a single as opposed to just that album. And when you look at a band like, say, Maiden, okay? Maiden during the pandemic put out their new album. It's a double album. I love Maiden. I don't have the time to sit there and really take in a full double album, okay? I think the market has changed. I think people's listening habits have changed. Have you ever taken that approach and thought maybe we should just put out singles and support those singles?
We're in that currently. We shifted after we released that album. We have shifted to basically just singles. Like, we have almost a whole other album written, but we're doing like the single game. And it's funny you say that, because the industry has changed completely, especially when it comes to like the albums and singles. I don't know if you're familiar with this. I talk about this band all the time, but One Republic put out their album this past year, and 75% of those songs on that album have been singles the last 3 years.
Yep. Absolutely. I love that band. They're an amazing band.
They're incredible. And Ryan Tedder, I remember he had an interview and he was talking to, I forget if it was manager or label rep, whatever it was. And he said, all right, he's like, I don't usually get nervous before an album release. He's like, but I'm kind of nervous. And then the manager's like, what are you nervous about? You already sold, a million copies of this, because like you've been releasing singles and now you're going to drop the album. So in terms of Spotify, Apple Music algorithm, those plays just transfer over. Yeah. So like if one song already like hit the charts 2 years ago and that's on the album, that carries over to that album stats. So it's like, we haven't released the album, but it's there. But when he released the album, he really only released, it was like almost releasing an EP. It was like 4 songs. It was like 4 songs, I think, that came out. It was like 4 or 5 songs. New. But on the album, it was 10. But when you go through it, it's like, oh, that was released in 2017. That was released in 2018. All those 4 released in 2019. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it just, we're in the single game.
I think Dennis is sleeping. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Dennis. We didn't want to wake you up. I'm sorry. No,
I was right here.
Why would you want to interrupt a great fucking story, Jeff? That's totally fine.
I was watching poor Dennis, and I didn't. His eyes are getting very heavy. We got to. I'm sorry.
I completely agree with you, Frank. I really do. I think that, and I understand what Jeff is saying too, because we do come from a different generation where you had to wait for the album. Like I can remember. Again, I am a huge Guns N' Roses fan, so I can remember after Appetite comes out. So then they released Civil War on like a compilation record. And I went out and I searched for that compilation record so I could hear Civil War. And I bought the Days of Thunder soundtrack because Knocking on Heaven's Door was on that before the Illusion albums came out. So like, I understand the fact of releasing the single. And I think that right now is gigantic. I think it's completely changed the whole music industry in a great positive way too, because it also doesn't put a lot of pressure on you guys in a certain way where you feel like you have to lock yourselves into like a room for 6 weeks and write 18, 20 songs in order to whittle them down to 10 to 12 songs to make a full record. If you know you have a great fucking song, like Marc's
immediacy, Sean.
Well, that's what it is.
But immediacy.
That's the way we are now, though. But and it's not a bad thing, because again, you can have a song that you think is the next stairway to heaven, and you write it and you put it together and then you put it out there. You don't have to wait 18 months and then it's kind of like the newness wears off of that song too while you're waiting for the record to come out. I personally love the whole single thing because again, I'm not as old as Jeff is, but I'm not as young as you guys are. And I'm still a guy who likes to have the physical copy of their music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this was the asshole that bought the single.
I did. I bought a lot of singles.
They were shit, those things.
They were horrible. But like,
they got caught in your tape player. Those were garbage, but they weren't. They
were horrible. But like, here's the thing. Like, here's my phone. I got 23,000 songs on this phone, and I have to be the guy who has the physical copy. And the reason I said this, I just had Apple Music for the first time in my life last week, and it's the greatest fucking thing I've ever done in my entire life. I found like 19 new bands over a week. It's amazing. I love it. But again, getting back to the singles, I have like, there's one artist on here I love. I had one song that I downloaded as a single. I'm like, all right, this guy's really cool, right? Apple Music, I put the album. This is one of the best albums I've heard in the last 2 years. It's friggin' amazing. I haven't stopped playing it. And it's a country guy too, which is very different. So like it broadens you. It can also just take you to a different level too, where, you know, your music is getting out to a different audience as well.
So what do you guys have coming up, before we wrap this up? And this went by very quick, by the way, guys. But what do you guys have coming up? What's the future for the band? What do you have on the horizon for the new year?
Well, we have a show this Friday in Asbury Park. We have a full band show.
What time?
We go on at 10 p.m. at the Saint in Asbury Park.
Perfect.
You guys want to take it?
Well, I have a gig in Toms River, and I got to drive right past Asbury Park to get home. So I know exactly where the Saint is. I've played there myself. You might see my fat face there.
Let's go. That's happening this Friday. And then like Frankie said, that we're working with representation now. And that's fairly really, really new, like 2 days ago new. So we're gonna be really working our asses off when that kind of clocks in. And we're looking to keep releasing singles as the months go by, maybe live versions of singles, even remixes. But we're going to be releasing content, and we're going to be playing a lot of shows in 2022. So yeah, man.
Okay, yeah, dude.
Yeah, we'd love to come and check you guys out and see, and keep up with the progress of the band.
Yeah.
We'd love to push it. Let us know when the what local dates you have coming up, so we can we'll promote you guys on our end over here, because again, you guys do have like a really great sound, and it's also nice to see people playing like live music, like real music. We got into a thing with Rob DeLuca a couple of weeks ago, where we got into this whole thing about bands using backing tracks and playing to pre-recorded versions of songs in their live performance. And it's something that I think, I don't know why the industry is going in this direction, especially with live shows, but I mean, it's a misrepresentation of a band. I mean, the whole thing about seeing live music is to see the imperfections and hear sometimes alternative versions of songs that you normally like, But
I will say, we do use one backing track with one of our songs, and the mindset, the only reason we do it is because Brian is just an absolute monster, and we wouldn't do it if Brian wasn't an absolute monster. I mean, he's just incredible to a click. He's incredible at because he's done the cover band scene, and he's done a bunch of different backing track stuff. So he's so good with it. But our idea, we've shared that idea with you, Jeff, for as long as this band has been around, like to not have backing tracks. And we actually use a backing track for Temperamental, but we don't, the backing track, it's a stripped down, completely stripped version. Like it's just more of an emphasis for like different sounds. Like you got like a little bit more of a kick, you guys like.
That's not what we're talking. We're talking. You're not using like background singers that aren't there. You're not throwing in like an orchestration or.
No, you
get. That's what we're talking. But you'll see or even lip sync into the songs.
Yeah, there's things like one of my favorite bands at the moment, the 1975. They use a shit ton of backing tracks.
They do.
And yeah, they do. And it's like, okay, like you're really big now. Like you could get musicians, like a big band for me. Another really big band for me that doesn't use backing tracks is Bleachers, but his band is huge. Like he's got like a 12-piece band. He's got 2 keyboard players. Yeah. He's got like 3 saxophone players. He's got 2 guitar players. It's like that's where at some point, you
got to branch out a little bit.
But for like bands like us, or like even if it like. What I'm seeing a lot lately is like a 2-piece, 3-piece bands that just, you find if you work, one of my favorite bands right now is called Fiji Blue. And I just went to a show and they're a 2-piece. And I mean, like, and they said that it's just easier right now to deal with because like we've been let down by so many band members, and it's like, and right now we're not making that much money where we could split it between 5 guys. I kind of see the approach behind that, but I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care. I like playing live no matter what. So
right. Two-piece bands are fucking great.
Yeah.
But then you always see them change. And they, like the Black Keys was one.
Look at Against Me. They started at that's a 2-piece band. Like
Local H was a band like that too. H. They were great. And then you had the Black Keys who were just amazing. Royal Blood is another band that was a 2-piece. And they kind of changed.
Yeah, and like you said,
the White Stripes was okay.
Like you say, like bands evolve. So, if you could find those players to add to your fucking tribe, then do it.
Exactly. I agree 100% with that.
Keep them out of the pictures.
Sean, ask your world famous question here.
All right.
And who should I ask it to? That's the question. If I ask all 4 of them,
ask it to Dennis.
Yeah, wake him up. Let's ask him this question.
I felt bad. We interrupted Dennis.
So Dennis, I always ask the one question. You don't have to say it's anybody in this band. Okay. So now you're a keyboard player. You can play in any band and you can make the band yourself. They could be living or dead. Who do you pick as your band? Obviously, you're playing keyboards. So now you got to find 4 of the people to make your ultra super mega group. Who is it going to be?
Oh, the 4 people. The 3 people that you see right here. That's it. I'm not going anywhere else.
No.
Put his fucking mic on mute again, please. Put his mic on mute.
Go back to sleep. Fuck
him. Oh my God.
Stop it.
Loyalty is worth nothing in this place, I guess. But anyway, in all seriousness, I mean, I found a home with those guys.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's a goof because like some guys will do what you just did and say, no, it's totally fine. These are my brothers and everything. And then some people are like, yeah, fuck my band. Here's who I want. I want Zach Wilde on guitar. I want Vinnie Paul on drums. I want Jordan Rudess playing keyboards. I want this, and they're there's never anything in the middle. It's either people always say, no, my band is everything, or they say, fuck my band. Here's who I want to play with.
Dennis, your check's in the mail, dude. Thank you.
That was the test you passed.
Well, that's the thing. Just to emphasize like Dennis, thing. I think we all, because what we do, we call ourselves a family. We're a family.
Absolutely.
And I think that you're in the industry so much, and whether you play with a bunch of different bands, you start to realize that it's not. Yes, you need to be a ridiculous musician, hands down. But at the same time, it's about who you are as a person and how you gel, the chemistry on and off the stage. That's more valuable than anything. I mean,
Absolutely.
Obviously, like there's no other drummer that I'd rather play with than Brian. But at the same time, there's no other person that I want to call a friend and bandmate than Brian. And I feel like you need to have both those questions answered, and you need to be all in with both of those things, and everyone have that same mindset. It
only brings out the better musicianship in yourself too. When you're close with people, you're on a different level. I mean, look, the guys I had in my band, we're not the greatest musicians in the world at all. But you know what? If one of them called me right now and said, I'm in a bad spot, I would hit leave this meeting right now and I'd be in my car. And this is 20 years ago. And that's still the same way. He's my best friend in the whole world too. Is he a great guitar player? He's a good guitar player. Did he do anything on stage? No, he stood there like a fucking lump every goddamn show. Didn't do a goddamn thing. But he's still my best friend. So I understand what you're saying.
Did you read Bruce's autobiography?
Yes.
Oh man. Okay. Well, he said that I wasn't looking for the greatest players. I was looking for the right players.
Exactly. Very, very true. And it works with comedy too. I mean, we're the same way. Jeff and I work a lot. We don't work together a tremendous amount, but like we're
working this weekend though.
Yeah, we are. Don't remind me.
Well, what's your favorite album from him?
From Bruce?
Yeah.
It's, it's hard to say this,
Darkness.
but it's Born in the USA. It's Born in the USA is my favorite.
I fuck with that, but yo, Jeff, Darkness all the way, bro.
Darkness, look, between Darkness, Born to Run, and The River is the best 3-album release in the history of music. And I'll take that
Darkness
to my
tells a real story, though.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing.
What was going on between Born to Run and Darkness and all the legal shit that he has going on. And he's just so jaded.
Yep.
And it's a perfect combination of music and lyrics.
And I think his greatest thing is Nebraska, only because it was a huge fuck you to the record company. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
Huge fuck you, which is great.
That's who he is, bro. He didn't give a fuck. He recorded a full, like, he mixed it like full band version of that album. And he was just like, nah, just here's my demo tape. This is it.
Love it. Absolutely. So, listen, I tell everybody this too. This is the reason why I have a Prince tattoo on my arm. Is because Prince changed his name to a fucking symbol to piss off his record company. Yeah. And I keep it on here because I love Prince, number one. And number two, I don't let anybody dictate my art to me. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. I like that.
He also was the guy that started putting out the singles and just said, I really don't need the record company to tell me what to do. We'll release a song at a time. But guys, this was really great, man. You guys are really like,
yeah, like you guys, you're young guys, but you got your fucking head on your shoulders, which I like a lot. Because we've dealt with other people who are younger and they're just pieces of shit. You guys are cool. We'll have a beer after the show.
That's awesome. Yeah, thanks.
But we should definitely chill, like at a show or whatever.
Absolutely.
Get some drinks or something. Yeah, I'm down.
Again, let us know when you're playing. We want to promote you guys, and we want to absolutely come and see you.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Be well, guys. Oh, by the way, before we leave, how could our fans and people listening to this, how could they contact you? How could they follow you?
Well, we have a website, morningsidelane.com. You could follow us on and listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, YouTube, all that stuff. I mean, we're on Instagram, Morningside Lane, and then there's like an underscore. So at Morningside Lane _. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, all that stuff.
In worst case, if you want, just contact Dennis directly. Here's his number. It's 201-780.
No, Dennis is not a 201. I couldn't be friends with him.
Oh, I'm a 201, motherfucker. We're done.
So is Mark.
Morningside Lane, everybody. Morningside Lane. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. It was a lot of fun today.
Show.
All right, guys.
Thanks, man.
We'll be in touch with you guys. Be well, guys. Take care, everybody.
You too. See you.
Later.
Later.